All right, go live. Okay, we are going live in 3, 2, 1. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Today we have a different kind of streaming. Manuel López, also known as Manu Mercurial, will talk about the advanced animation course he created with Graphicsly. I'm Mario Quiñones and I'll be your host. We hope you get the best of this course and start creating amazing animations in Clip Studio Paint. I'll be reading your questions in the chat and we'll try to answer them during the live streaming. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mario. Can you guys hear me okay? Just checking in chat. I'm reading you right now, guys. So, hey, Uoi, Josuke, Owen, hey, FMNES. Hi, guys. So, yeah, let me tell you about how today is going to work. First of all, I'm going to do a little introduction to who I am, what's my work, and then we're going to go over the course overview to see what this entire course is about. And then we're going to let everyone rock. You get to do some Q&A, you get to ask some questions, and yeah, hopefully we can give you a lot of value today. We're here to serve you. Just start thinking about questions that you want to make. It could be about the course, it could be about anything else if you want. So let's do it. Let's get started. All right. So today I prepared this with lots of love for you guys. The course too, but I want to tell you a story before we start. I feel it's a story that you all need to hear. Let's start with this. I'm going to show you a little bit of my work. This is my first short film. It was created in Clip Studio Paint. Some of you might know it. And the entire thing, it's animated, painted in Clip Studio Paint. And this was created, like I told you, 1 year ago, kind of. But I want to go 7 years back because most of us, when we hear about artists and their development and when they started creating art, it's always, yeah, I've been drawing my whole life and stuff like that. That is not my story at all. So I want to show you this. Again, this is not a drawing from when I was little. This is not a drawing that I gave my parents so they could paste on our refrigerator. This is actually a drawing that I did in 2003 or 4, if I'm not mistaken. So when I started, first of all, I've never drawn through my life. I've always loved animation, but for some reason I saw The Lion King and I saw Toy Story, and it never occurred to me that one was drawn and the other one wasn't. So I went through my entire life without picking up a pencil until I got to college. And I decided that I wanted to study animation. But then, for I guess it's good luck or bad luck, but the generation, the students that I got into, they were incredible. Their level was incredibly high. So I was extremely scared, obviously. I felt threatened. So what I did as a defense mechanism was to convince myself that I didn't need to learn how to draw. I just basically lied to myself, and I told myself, nah, I'm better at, rigging or other 3D animation stuff. But I never picked up a pencil because I was afraid of trying and realizing that I'm bad at drawing. So I went through my entire college education thinking this until I got to the very end when you get to do your graduation short film. And I thought, what? For me, it was you need to choose what you're going to do as a graduation short film. But for me, it was a more important question, which is, what do I want to do once I go out to the industry? And for me, the answer was obvious. I love 2D animation, but I was too afraid to try. So I decided to give myself the opportunity to try and the opportunity to fail, because you're obviously going to fail when you're starting. And I decided to do a short film that was entirely 2D animation. It was a long process, it was hard, but you can see the results that I just showed you. I really want to, because I know this story can resonate with lots of you. Every time you hear about the great artists in the industry, it's always, yeah, I started when I was 4 years old. I picked up a pencil. And that could be a little daunting because you feel like, oh no, I wasted so much time. I'm here to tell you guys, you have not wasted any time. There's a saying that I love that says the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. So if you're listening to this and you feel you are in the same place, all I can tell you is give yourself the opportunity to try, but especially give yourself the opportunity to fail. So the story is not over. This is the first storyboard that I showed in my class for my short film. And the reason their drawings are this sketched is not because I was working fast. This is literally the best that I could do when I was working on the pre-production. So many years ago, um, I'm sorry, like a couple of years ago, a friend of mine that was in classes with me at that time told me that she actually left the classes when I was presenting my ideas to everyone because she just cringed so much. I know this, it's a little mean spirit, but I can understand that. But what I want to tell you is I went through that and I survived. Nothing bad happened. This is what if you're going to take something away from this webinar, from this stream, is that nothing happens when you create an ugly drawing. If you fail, you just get up. The next one is going to be better. The next one is going to be better. So I hope you take that into account. Let's talk a little bit about what I did, right? It's not magic. This is the other great thing about art. It's all about mileage and studying fundamentals. So what I did is focusing on the things that I felt I was lacking. I knew where I wanted to get, but I didn't know how to get there. So I started, like, let me give you an example. We're going to improvise a little bit. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So this is the first concept art for a background that I did for my short film. And when I did this, I thought, oh my God, this is perfect. It literally cannot be any better. Well, obviously, this is the important thing. You need to have a frame of reference to know where you're going. Later, after doing this, I started watching some anime, and then I saw the backgrounds and I was like, oh, wait, my stuff doesn't look like that. So what I did was literally grab, say, a screenshot from an anime and trying to reproduce what they were doing. Now, granted, look at this. This is not the same perspective as this. I am not tracing their drawing. I'm not just painting on top of theirs. I'm doing it from zero to try to learn what they did. And this is the things that I learned. The fundamentals that I absorbed are the things that I applied in my own project. So it's important to challenge yourself and to use reference to know where you want to get. So, and why do we do all of this? Well, hopefully it's because you feel the same as I do, and you want to create your own stories and characters and universes. This is another project of mine. This is coming soon, but I can show you this small teaser. And again, it was done entirely done in Clip Studio Paint. So yeah, I hope you feel the same love for this craft and for the opportunity that we have to create animation. So with that, let's get started with the course overview and what this course is about. So again, this course I prepared with lots of love, with all the things that I've been learning through this process of starting from zero to the things that I'm doing right now. I want to make it very clear, I'm not done, right? I'm happy with the level that I have right now, but same as you, I consider myself a student and I keep trying to improve every day. Another, I guess, great thing or lucky thing about me that I haven't told you is that for the last 2.5 years, I've been an animation teacher at a local university. And I've had the great luck to teach both the most fundamental, like the introduction to animation course, and then the students go like a couple of terms without um, with other classes, and then they come back to me for the advanced animation course. So I had both, every term I have the experience to show them both the fundamentals, the very basics, the 12 principles of animation, and then again, I will receive them again and give them how to apply them with an advanced way of applying those fundamentals. So that's exactly what these years of teaching have taught me, and I put it into this course. So let's, if you want, let's do a little overview of what we're going to look in this course. So first of all, we have an introduction, so a little course overview, and then we get right into basics for Clip Studio for animation. So I know some of you may be wondering, what if I've never used Clip Studio before? No problem, you got it, because we are going to see everything that's very, very basic about Clip Studio, how to, now the timeline function works, every little tool, and we especially focus on the animation folders and how to work with them correctly, because I have seen all sorts of things done with animation folders. So I will show you the right way to work with them. Then we go into perspective for animation. This is one of the most important topics in this course. As when we were thinking of the idea of making this course, this wasn't included, but I thought if I'm going to talk about advanced animation, this has to be. Perspective is the base for solid drawing and to fill the space. Even though we're working on a flat space like 2D, there is a space that needs to exist, and perspective is the key for that. So perspective for animation not only shows you how to use the ruler tools in Clip Studio, which are extremely powerful, but also the most, I guess, the most common mistakes that I see every day done in when using perspective for animation. Most of you probably know about the horizon, know about the vanishing points, but there is a way to apply this to animation so it doesn't look jarring. Because a lot of people think of perspective like they were just doing a drawing, and it's different when you're working on animation. You need to think like a camera, and I don't mean like the cinematography and composition. That is important too. I literally mean how to create space, at what height you are placing the camera, and how your background and your characters will be affected. Okay, so that's one. Then we move into pre-production. In pre-production, we're going to talk about the idea, which is basically the most important thing. We are creating animation to tell a story, and we cannot forget that, right? And we're also going to talk about, let me show you this, a little bit of how to create concept art. I'm going to make this bigger. How to create concept art, a little bit about character design. So yeah, this is the character. This is the concept art for the character that I created. You'll see more about it in the short. I mean, in the course. I'm sorry, I keep calling it the short. And then the character sheet, right? So yeah, that's the pre-production part. Then we go into backgrounds. This is another part that wasn't included at first, but I thought if we're going to talk about how to use Clip Studio for advanced animation, we cannot just focus on animation. I want to talk about everything that makes a shot look professional. So we went into backgrounds. I'm so happy to tell you that the first video about the backgrounds is an entire explanation of how color actually works. Through these videos, I will show you a way of how to understand light and color and keep them separated so it doesn't become a jumble. But the process that I teach you, you can use, or you can just absorb the fundamentals and do your own thing. But for me, it's important that you understand that light and color, first of all, light is not just a tool, it is a character in your story. And sometimes it's a character that talks louder than the dialogues that your characters have, right? So how to understand values, how to understand hue, and how to understand saturation, keep them separate so you can try new things, and how to combine them to create a background, which is what we have right here. This is one of the things that I love about Clip Studio. We will dive into this scene in a bit, but the fact is, if I want to make any changes to the background right now, I can do it because I have a folder with my background in here. I painted it in here. This is not something you can do with basically any other animation software because they are just made for animation. So that's why I love using Clip Studio for animation. Okay, going back to the course overview. Then after we're done with backgrounds, we get to setting the scene, which is simply how to import things, import your animatic, how to set, everything that you need to set a scene. Then this is one of the most important topics we'll see, which is the animation fundamentals. So in this course, you not only get this scene, I want to make this very clear. This is not just a time lapse. This is not just you watching me do the how I did the scene. You get explanations like this one. It's open up. So there are several exercises here where I get to show you how to understand charts of animation, the different pieces of how to create a pose-to-pose animation correctly, which is super important if you want to create professional looking animation. By the way, guys, I'd ask for your forgiveness or understanding that the frame rate is going to be a little low because I'm transmitting this through Google Hangouts. So probably when I play this, it doesn't look. I'm going to just screw over it slowly so you can see all the frames. But yeah, you get things like this, how to create overlap. And obviously this includes explanations of how I did everything here, different types of how you can basically use tricks with limited animation into full frame by frame animation. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Going back to this, then we actually get into making this animation. Once you have strong fundamentals, we can jump right into creating the animation, which we'll obviously go through the steps of rough animation, tie down. So these are several videos. I will be skipping a little bit, then clean up, lighting the character. This is one of my favorite parts. Just looking at any of this shot, I want to post this shot just like this, right? Just so you can feel the lighting on top of the character. And you can see sometimes we are thinking about the volume of the character and sometimes we aren't. So how to know when to do that, right? And the different sources you can have. Okay. And finally, we can get into coloring. So this one has a little more steps into it. You can see it has gradients, but yeah, we're all the way to I missed one here. Well, we're talking about in-betweening too, which is important. In-betweening is not just making a drawing in the middle of two other drawings. I want to make this very clear. There are ways to correctly in between, thinking about spacing. That's why you use your charts. I know some of these things might be like, I don't know what he's talking about. You can ask the questions. We can look at it briefly if you want. And then we also get to look into, camera movements and interpolation. What is the difference between these two? Well, in Clip Studio, you have two choices. You can either move an object, which you can see here, the background moves. Like I'm literally putting keyframes in my background so it moves, or you can move the camera, which is the blue square or rectangle here. I'm just gonna go a bit earlier here. You can see the rectangle is moving. I'm just going to play the animation. You can see the rectangle is also moving. It's going to take a tiny bit to render. The rectangle follows and you can set how it moves. So the good thing about Clip Studio is it has both. You can set keyframes to your objects, or you can move the camera, zoom in, zoom out. You can also set keyframes to opacity, basically every value, just rotation, scale, position, and opacity, which allows us to create effects like some of the ones that you might not be noticing, but they are there. And that's important about effects. You don't want them to be like extremely obvious. You want to, some bass players are going to get angry at me, but you want it to be like the bass on a song where you don't really hear it, but you feel it, right? So going back to this. Okay, camera movements and interpolation, then coloring tools. There are many tools in Clip Studio to make our life easier when painting things so we can work faster. So that's another great thing about Clip Studio, guys. Clip Studio is a robust image editing and illustration software, which has amazing tools for comics and for webtoons and has an amazing timeline. But all the tools that you can use to paint and to make your life easier when you are an illustrator, you can use in animation, and that's just priceless. And then we go into post-production, which is, for me, it's my favorite part. It's basically going from, let me just go over here. Yeah, from this to this. How do we make our character look like she is inside this place, right? She feels integrated to the place. So yeah, that's a couple of videos. And then we get to export, which there are many ways to export. In the last, even I couldn't apply this to the course because it wasn't there when we started, but I do want to talk about it, which is we now have even a time-lapse function in Clip Studio. So you can create, when you are doing your animation, when you're starting your animation, you can set your file to start recording a time-lapse. And what it does is it's basically taking I think this is like a screen grab every amount of minutes, and then you can play it back. So you have already, that's like basically free social media content. And yeah, I guess that's about it for the course overview. Before we go into the Q&A, I do want to answer the two most common questions that I've been getting this past week since the course released. And those are, what do I need to know before taking this course? And the other one is, can I create this exact animation when taking this course? Let's start with that one, because I know for some of you will be like, why do I want to do that? But I think it's a smart question. The entire process is there. So technically, you could be able to make the same exact animation scene if you want to absorb from it. But for me, I challenge you to actually create your own animation. What I try to do when making this course is not to show you how I did this. Again, this is not a time lapse of this scene. I actually tried to give you the fundamentals and the tools so you can do anything that you want. So, I'm sorry, one topic that I skipped is acting and lip sync. So we have videos about how to correctly do lip sync into the animation, in frame by frame animation. Because a lot of people think that it's just like straight ahead, like going one drawing after the other, trying to match the mouth. That's not how you do lip syncing animation. There are correct ways to do it. So if you want to create an animation after watching this course and create an animation where it's more subtle movement and just acting with your character, you can do that. It doesn't have to be like extremely filled with action. So yeah, that's what I challenge you to do. If you want to do something that's extremely similar to this, you can do it. But for me, what would make me happy is that you create the things that are in your own mind, the ideas that you have in your mind, and bring them to life. And the other question was, what do I need to know before taking this course? So technically, nothing. I will touch all the fundamentals from like literally the first time you open Clip Studio to like if you've never animated before, I will go over everything I'm doing and why I'm doing it, but it never hurts to know a little more. So to um, if you want to make the most out of this, I would recommend at least knowing what the 12 principles of animation are. And you can find this everywhere, but just literally like looking into timing and spacing and just understanding the difference, understanding how acceleration and deceleration works into the again it does I will cover those things in this course, but it's better if you do. It's just a suggestion. You don't need to do it, but you will it's better if you do. Okay, and I think with that we're ready for questions. I can see chat is going crazy. So yeah,
Yeah, Manu.
hit me up.
Before, because there are a few questions already,
Yeah,
we want to give a bit of time for people to keep sending questions, and then we can start answering them one by one. But
okay.
there is something that we cannot talk about. But what was the inspiration for you to create this scene? What did you want to bring
Mm.
on one scene that kind of have everything or most of the thing that will be helpful for somebody who's starting animation from zero? Um,
Yeah.
what was
Okay.
your inspiration?
So it's a fun story because I loved how this course came to fruition. Basically, you guys at Graphicsly told me like, "Manu, we want you to animate anything you want and explain how you did it." That was the initial idea. It wasn't going to be like an entire course with everything animation, but rather just like making a scene and how I did it. So I wanted to do something that I thought, man, what would be something cool to animate? And that's what I came up with. I love medieval scenes, even though I've never like done um a, a story like this myself. So I tried like, why don't I do a character with a sword and like kind of a fight? Oh, but I want to add lip sync because I want the character to have um acting too. So that's how it became a jumble of different things, and then it came together into it, like the perspective. So I can talk about more complex perspective, and I can do camera pans and use the Clip Studio camera, and that's how this scene came to fruition. But the main idea was, how do I create something that's cool, that's cool looking, at least for me, right? So that's how the idea came, and I'm really happy. Thank you so much, you guys at Graphicsly, for all the first of all trusting in me to create this course and the freedom to create something that I liked. I really loved working with you guys in this. It was
No, Manu, we love
an
your
awesome.
work, and yeah, what would you say to people to start animating? I know this course has so much content. It goes from zero to final, like high production level.
Mhm.
What would you say to people to start with, like a short
Yeah.
scene, trying to
So
find?
here's the thing.
Let me know.
There's not a single answer because everyone is different. But this is my recommendation for you guys. Think about what you want to achieve. You have a dream. You have something that you want to create. I want you to visualize it in your mind and then try making a list. What are the things that you need to get there? For me, my first short film was that I wanted to create a short that could uh, uh, that could rival the I don't know if I can talk about this, but I guess I can. That could rival the I've always loved the works of the animation school Goblin, or everyone calls it Goblins. So that was my benchmark. I wanted to create a short film that could stand with those with the short films from that school. I know this, like now I'm saying this, everyone's gonna be like, yeah, but like right now I can tell you I am a finalist in an animation award contest with it's literally me and two short films from the school Goblin. So for me again, it's just incredible. It's for you to decide if I did or not, but for me I'm extremely satisfied to have achieved that. And that was my benchmark, and I looked at their short films and I looked at my work and I thought, okay, what do I need to get there? And just guys, start doing tests. So if you've never painted a background, try painting a background. It's literally the same thing that I just showed you here. I
Mhm.
painted this, and I looked at this and I thought, oh man, it cannot be any better. It's just perfect. And then I looked at this and I thought, oh, okay, I'm not doing this. What do I need to get there? So if you know where you want to go, then you can see the road that's ahead. That's my recommendation for you guys. I know everyone has different goals with this. So think about what you want to create and then do tests. And you're going to fail, and it's okay. I want people to embrace that the first time you try anything, you're probably not going to get it right. But then you do it again and it's going to get better. And then you do it again and it's going to get better. It's mathematical.
Mm-hmm.
And until eventually you are there.
Yes, well, we'll be crossing fingers on the festival for
Yeah.
you. Um, Here's a question: does the course comes with sample material,
Yeah.
original
It has a
files?
ton of yeah, it has a ton of videos and sample material for every lesson. I think it's a good moment to show you how the page looks. Oop, this is not the one. One sec. There we go. This is how the course basically looks. So you have a page where you can go over the chapters, and you can go. Let's go into, let's say, backgrounds, and you have I hope I'm not in the way. I'm kind of in the way, but yeah, you can have all the videos, the different parts, and then you have the material. That for every scene you have different material. You have the different process shots, different, for example, for the animation fundamentals, you have the file that I just showed you with the different fundamental explanation, and you have the course. So yeah, it has every unit has its own material.
Well, there are so many questions. We'll try to answer them all.
Yeah, let's
Sorry,
go for it.
guys. So here's a question. One of the first questions: how did you do this 3D in sword fight animation?
This 3D in sword fight, I didn't use any 3D. It's just drawing. It's perspective. That's the key. Just understanding that you're, even though it's a flat space, you have you can go into your scene in your mind, right? There is a distance between here and there, and just keeping the proportions correctly of your character. That for that you need to understand, okay, at which height is my horizon, and like how are my vanishing points working. This is for it. It doesn't have to be in a shot that's complex like this in terms of perspective. This is literally for every shot, even though it's just a one point perspective. You need to know where your horizon is and how it's affecting your entire scene and how the space feels. But yeah, there's no 3D in this. It's all 2D.
Well, there's one chapter that you go in deep about perspective, so
Yeah.
that will be helpful.
Yeah.
There's another question here. Would you recommend to work Clip Studio Paint on PC, or can I create animation or on iPad application too? Somebody else also asked if do I need to have a tablet?
Do I need to have a tablet? I think, yeah, you do. But right now, the tablet industry has become extremely affordable. So you don't need to have a Cintiq, for example. You don't need to have a tablet with a screen. You can just need something that allows you to have pen pressure. It's the one reason I cannot tell you that you can do it with a mouse, is that with a mouse, you don't have pressure, where if you draw softer, the line is thinner. So that would be the only reason I would say, yeah, it's better to have a tablet so you can get that feeling for that you are drawing. But again, the industry has become extremely affordable in terms of the options for tablets that there are. And do you need a PC or Apple tablet? I've never used it on iPad before, but I have worked with people in my projects using Clip Studio that I am working in PC, and I send them the files and they open it in the iPad, and they have had no problem. So as is my understanding, that is the same exact version, obviously adapted to a tablet. Like you can use gestures to do undo and stuff like that, since you don't have a keyboard. But it is the same program. It has the same timeline. It's not limited, so you can use it on your Apple tablet, and then just export it and keep working here too.
Mm-hmm. Here's another interesting question. What are the things that you avoid doing? For example, things such as anything that will slow down the production on a piece of animation, regardless the length of the animation?
What are the things that I avoid doing?
Yeah, just
Hmm.
stop or to make the process slow.
Okay, so yeah, there's one thing that I can think of, and I still have sometimes struggle with it, but you need to understand the steps in the process. What I mean by this is sometimes you focus too much on, let's say you do a drawing in, you are in the rough animation step, and you need to do rough drawings and do the entire animation in rough before moving to a tie down. But sometimes you start working on a single part and then you start polishing it and getting a good drawing, and like you put too much time into that one drawing, and then when you start continue the rest of the rough animation, you realize that one drawing doesn't work. So you wasted a lot of time by just moving forward in a step that wasn't what you needed to do. Then you need to keep the process simple. Basically, just do one step, do the next one, do the next one, and not try to jump from one to the other. I struggle with that, but that would be the one thing that I recommend avoiding, in which, or basically, keep an order with your scenes. Don't jump all around the place, because it will make things harder. It's actually harder to skip from one mentality to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Here's another question. Is this course good for beginners who have a bit of
Yeah,
animation knowledge in the principles?
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm extremely satisfied with what I've put into this short film. And I did it thinking both of people who have more experience animating, but it's completely beginner friendly. So if you've never used Clip Studio, or if you've never animated, it's all here for you. And I even recommend like going through it, doing your own tests, and as you start learning, going back to it, because once you get it, it's yours forever, because you're going to discover or understand things better. Again, the course is called Advanced Animation in Clip Studio Paint. So yeah, there are some things that I do think are a little bit more advanced, but again, everything for a beginner is there. So yeah, it will be extremely beginner friendly.
Mm-hmm. And what's your hardware setup that you use for digital animation, and how much does it cost? Is it expensive to have the hardware to create animation?
Thankfully, since we are working in 2D, you don't need like a thermonuclear reactor computer. You can deal with a simple one. If you want to use 3D elements, then it probably is gonna get a little more. It's gonna take more resources from your computer. Which, by the way, Clip Studio has 3D. You can use 3D models if you want. Um, in terms of like my gear, all I have is this tablet. Oh, I'm gonna try to lift it and hopefully not destroy my life. Ah, so yeah, it's a 13-inch Wacom or Wacom, I don't know, Cintiq, and that's about it. The rest of my computer is nothing special. So
Mm-hmm. And by the way, can you import voiceover recording MP4 files for the lip sync?
yeah, let's talk about that, because that's one amazing thing. When I started this, I want to say two things. Let's preface it like this. When I started working with Clip Studio like 4 years ago, there weren't any blending modes still. So by blending modes, I mean like multiply and overlay, and those came in an update when I already got Clip Studio Paint. And I'm telling you this because Clip Studio is a software that I feel really cares about their user base, and it's quickly evolving and bringing stuff to their users. So again, when I started working with Clip Studio, there wasn't any way to import audio. So some of you might think, no, there's no way to import audio. Not only there is a way to import audio, you also have. I'm going to try to get out of the way, but now you have track labels, which is. Let me open this. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit far away from my monitor. Okay. Okay, so you can actually write inside. There we go. You can actually write inside of your. I'm just going to move ahead when there's more dialogue. And here you go. You can write little text inside of your timeline. So this allows you to actually know what word you need to animate, and you can move it around. Right now, it has Let me unlock it. There we go. But you can move it around if you want. You can write anything you want, and this way you can keep track of everything that's happening with your scene, your beats. You can also use it to like say like these are keyframes, these are breakdowns, and you can move it all. Every single animation layer has a track label. So yeah, it's great to work with with audio right now.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
and there's also here another question.
Mm.
Um, have you ever felt like your art style will not work with the animation? How do you change to make it better?
I think you always feel a little bit about like that. Like you're never extremely satisfied with your style, and I think that happens to everyone, honestly. But yeah, what you can do is study the artists that you love and try to learn from them and absorb their style. And by doing this, I mean like literally draw hundreds of drawings of theirs. And you might think hundreds this is going to take a lot of time. Of course it does. But once you do it, you only need to do it once. Once you absorb that, it's yours forever. Everything that you learned in this craft, no one can take away. So I think it is worth taking the time if you want to draw like a certain artist to take the time to study their style. Now, this is a big caveat here. You don't want to be just another version. For example, I love the drawings of Io Yoshinari, but I don't want to be another Io Yoshinari. I want to be me. So what I do is take what I love from his style and what I love from the style of other artists and combine it into, well, I guess I feel style is a little, you cannot escape your own style. But yeah, so to create your own mixture.
Um, Thank you. Sorry, I was reading
No worries.
another
Actually,
comment.
before you move on, there's
Mm-hmm.
actually two things that I want to
Yep,
mention now
go
that
ahead.
you're talking about this. When you were talking about audio, guys, I really want to. I know this is a little bit of a tangent, so I will keep it brief. But I want to encourage you guys to work with voice actors. Seriously, guys, it is more affordable and easier to do than you might think. I don't know why when I started animating, I thought, man, but getting a voice actor is impossible, man. It's probably like going to be there's obviously tiers of everything, but I think it's important. It's an industry that we can work together. We need to work together with voice actors, and you can give them their chance to do what they love too. I want to give a special shout out to Apocalypse. I'm gonna write her name in chat. So she did an amazing job creating the voice for this character, voicing this character, and yeah, I just love the acting that she did. So I would recommend you too give it a try. And there's many places that you can find even like Fiverr or Voice123 or on Twitter. If you follow any voice actor, they or actress, they keep retweeting the like other people's work. I think it's important to work together as an industry, and it's so much fun. So that's one thing. And yeah, so next question.
Okay. Um, well, would you recommend also, because this is a very complete course, animation course,
Mhm.
but what are your fundamentals? What does your the course that you did in college help you to create this animation course?
It's mostly what they it gave me is the understanding how students learn, which is different from how you teach. You need to when you're teaching, you need to teach so your students actually absorb and are able to apply the things, right? So you need to understand the steps that will take you from one place to the next one so you can build upon the last one. I know this sounds like a little bit complex, but the main idea, what I'm trying to tell with this is over the years I got to polish and understand how was an effective way to teach each one of the principles and how to apply them. And that's what I try to create with not only with the course but with this scene. So it was I forced myself so everything was there. From simple things like arcs, for example, how the she jumps or the way she swings her sword, to more complex things about having not only acceleration and deceleration, but combinations of both and how to use breakdowns. So that's what I got from my, and I all of that came from my experience teaching.
And Manu, can you talk
Mhm.
about the background lesson? Because here's a few people that it's really interested in. What did you show? What did you teach on the background section of this course?
Absolutely. One second, just let me find. I basically teaching a way to. There we go. Once you understand the perspective, I'm just going to show you this because it's easier to separate the steps. Once you understand the perspective of a space, then you can understand the different pieces that build up how light works, basically. So light can be highlights, is where your light is hitting the object, but where light is not hitting, the absence of light is shadow. So you need to keep those two things into account to create, well, basically a combination of both. But in this combination, what I'm talking about is using your entire range of values. And what I mean by this is not staying only in grays. I see a lot of people when they do their backgrounds, they paint them, and if you they use color, but when you go to black and white, they are barely using a part of their. This is a better example. One second. See, we have all this range from complete darkness to light. And people, when they try doing their backgrounds and shading them, they stay in this area, just in grays. Well, here I teach you a way of how to force yourself by using not only painting it this way, but also using color correction like levels and curves to force yourself to use the entire range. And once you have this, notice that we haven't talked about color. Well, I show you a way with gradient maps so you can add color to your backgrounds. And that is basically what I did here. So this is by using gradient maps, and I painted it black and white, and then I used gradient maps. Now, the important thing about this is not that, okay, now for the rest of my life, that is what I'm going to do. What I'm trying to teach you with this is to understand the importance of working with your values, getting your values working up front, and then you can, when if your values are working, you can use any color that you want, and it will work. For example, look at this. These are some other backgrounds from my short film, my first short film, and you can see the lighting here is like extremely purple or blue or green, and it's not something that you will see naturally in life. But we are working in animation, and in animation we can do whatever we want. If your values are working up front, then you can use whatever color you want and it will work. But you need to understand the fundamentals of why, how light works, and then how color works. That's what I go over in the background scene unit.
Awesome. And there is a question. Do we need another software for following the entire animation course, or is everything
Nope.
done in Clip Studio Paint?
100% done in Clip Studio Paint, even the post production.
Yeah, that was the other question. So
Yeah,
how did you manage
entirely done.
to create post production in Clip Studio Paint? What are the pros that you found creating post production in Clip Studio Paint?
Okay, so this is interesting. The thing about post production is it doesn't depend on the software. Post production is here, and I want to show you something that I created. It's right now I'm working on the Lackadaisy animated pilot. This is not my character, but I do want to show you this scene because I did in not scene, but you know this. I did this for fun. This is not part of the production. I just did it as a fan art, but I did this in Clip Studio Paint. So these are different lighting tests for this character, and it was done in Clip Studio Paint. So as you can see, the post production is not about the software, but rather what you are doing here and what you want to create. So this is a great test of what you can do. Um, yeah. So basically, it's not about the software, but Clip Studio, as you can see here, gives you all the tools because it is an image editing software to create post production.
That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing that illustration from Lagadesi.
Yeah, I do want to share another one that I just remember.
We know there are uh, limitations for sharing more
No, no,
things,
no
but
words. Again, like this is not a scene that I did for the. Like, this is literally something that I did for fun and I have posted online, so there's no
okay,
problem in showing that
cool.
ones.
And
I do want to show another thing, and it's
mhm,
this one. When we were talking about studying another artist's style, and I think this is something everyone would take out of, you can use it as an animation exercise. Like I told you, I want to learn how to draw like Yo Yoshinari. Again, this is not my character, but this is something I did as a fan art for fun, and I animated this in Clip Studio Paint. I'm gonna go over it really slowly so you can see all the layers, because I know if I play it quickly, Hangout is probably going to skip some frames. But what I'm trying to show you with this is use what you want to learn, use it as a stepping stone to create an animation exercise, right? So if you want to understand the volumes of how they draw this character, use it as an animation exercise to understand solid drawing, for example.
mhm.
Okay,
And
going
here
back.
are a very interesting question. Thank you guys for sharing your doubts with us. Uh, could you talk a little bit more about acting and setting the mood for the
Sure.
characters?
We have 7 minutes left, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna
Yep.
try as quickly as I can. So basically, what you need to understand when talking about acting is the difference between context and subtext. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to cover this quickly, but indulge me. Context is what literally is going on in the scene. If a character is grabbing a bottle of water, just the character is grabbing a bottle of water. That's the context. Subtext is how the character is grabbing that glass of water. It's not the same if I go all mad about it, and if I do it like I'm extremely scared. That's how you create acting. When you stop asking yourself, how do I create animation correctly, but rather how or why the character is doing that animation and why the character is moving like that. The keyword is why. What's going on in the characters in the back of the character's mind that makes him um, move like that or talk like that, and it depends on what point in the story you are, because characters evolve. At least in good stories, you want your characters to change, right? To evolve, to learn. Those are key for a good story. So yeah, that is what I go into, like how to start thinking about subtext and apply it with all the fundamentals. That is the most advanced thing I feel in animation, when you start talking about acting and stop asking how your character moves, but rather why your character moves like he does.
Awesome. Well, we want to say thanks to Aaron who got the course, and he's been sharing his experience with all the people here in the chat. And here's another interesting question. Can you go into the industry with just Clip Studio Paint for animating? And here's other question is related to that. AJ the critic says that's why it irks me when some animation jobs cares about the software you're using rather than your skill that you can bring into the table. So
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. Can you go into the industry but just using Clip Studio Paint? You absolutely can, and I feel the industry is a little bit forgiving in terms of what they want to see is what you can do rather than what software you use to do it. I feel in 3D it is different. In 3D, it's really important which software you know how to use, but in 2D, most software consists of the same thing. It's a timeline, an onion skin, and off you go. Different layers, maybe, but uh, basically you have that in Clip Studio, so you can learn all the fundamentals here. The one caveat that I would make here is if you want to get into cutout animation, which is using rigs. Clip Studio is not a software made for cutout animation, but that would be it. Everything else, as you can see here, you can do the entire process here to a professional level. So yeah, you will be fine using this to learn everything that you need.
and here's a question from Alpha. Can we look forward for future Clip Studio Paint animation courses from you, Manu?
Yeah, of course. Keep writing to Graphicsly, the things that you want to see, and we'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if
And
there's like literally, guys, an invitation that I want to extend to you, to all of you. My DMs are always open. So regardless of if you are taking the course or not, send me your animations, the things that you're learning from this. I want to see. I want to share them with me, and yeah, just keep challenging yourself. Give yourself the opportunity to try these things out. I want to motivate you by saying something that might make you feel a little threatened. But this is from a point of like, there was a year in my life, an entire year with where everything I did the entire day was just I got up and I started watching YouTube tutorials or reading animation books and stuff like that. But I never picked up a pencil and started drawing. Everything was just theory, and I never felt ready. I always felt, no, I need to take the next course, or I need to watch the next YouTube video because there will be the key for me because I'm not ready. And everything was, I was just avoiding the fact that I didn't want to do the first drawing and look at it and say, oh man, it's ugly. But it's okay, guys. It is okay to fail, and it's probably going to happen. But after you fail, you realize nothing bad happens. You just get up, you try again, and the next time, I promise you, it will be better. And the next one will be better, and the next one will be better. So give yourself that opportunity. That's what I want to tell you. If please promise to me, guys, if you do take this course, again, you can watch all the videos in the world and read all the books in animation, but if you don't start working, you're still in zero, guys. So put in the work. It's worth it. Everything that is in your head and that you're dreaming and you want to see on the screen and you want it to see existing, you can do. All you need to do is put in the work. And no one is gonna do it for you. I know that's a little rough, but I also trust that you understand where this is coming. This is coming from a guy that went through all of this just like you did. And I can tell you, like, it's worth it. At least for me, making a living of out of doing animation every day is just, I feel blessed, but I do see it as a privilege, and as a privilege we need to earn that privilege, and for that we need to work hard. That's what I'm gonna close on.
yeah, thank you so much, Manu.
Thank you so much, Mario.
And thank you so much to all the people here who are joining us and the people who will watch it later. Um, we are really happy that you can show us the whole production, how you did it, how you thought about it. And we invited everybody just to go to graphicsly.com and look for the animation course. There you will find more details about the course, specific things that you may want to know. So just to close, thanks again, Manu, and thank you all, everybody. We hope you can join us in future events with Graphicsly. So please stay tuned in our social media, Graphicsly, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and also in Manu's social media as Manuel Curiel.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, and thank you, Mario. Thank you to the entire Graphicsly team, seriously, for all the trust in me, and thank all of you guys in the chat for hanging out with me. Thank you for your time. I hope you get the most out of this.
Okay, thank you, Manu. So I'll see you next time.
Alrighty, see you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.